Listen, I'm going to say something that'll probably get me crucified on rugby Twitter, but here it is. What we're witnessing in this 2026 Six Nations isn't some beautiful renaissance of competitive balance. It's structural decay masquerading as excitement. When Scotland can dismantle a 12-match England winning streak through nothing but disciplinary chaos, when Italy nearly beats Ireland because of scrum dominance, and when Wales gets obliterated 54-12 at home, that's not parity, folks. That's entropy.
Welcome back to Rugby Rundown. I'm Gavlar, and that incendiary opening salvo was of course from my co-host Adrian, fresh off what I can only assume was a very strong cup of coffee and a deep dive into the chaos theory textbook.
Morning, Gav. And yeah, I stand by every word.
Right. Well, we're here to dissect two absolutely bonkers rounds of Six Nations rugby that have turned the entire championship on its head. Today's central question, is this tournament fabulously unpredictable due to genuine competitive parity, or is Adrian correct that we're witnessing a chaotic maelstrom signaling the decay of elite rugby structure? Let's get into it.
Look, let's start with the elephant in the room. Scotland's 31-20 demolition of England at Murrayfield. Now, everyone's calling this Scotland's tactical masterclass, Finn Russell's brilliance, all that jazz.
Right, which it was.
But here's what actually happened. Henry Arundel lost his mind. 2 yellow cards in one match, effectively a red under the new 20-minute trial rules. England played with 14 men for 30 minutes against a team that lives to move the ball to the edges. That's not Scotland being brilliant, that's England being catastrophically undisciplined.
But Adrian, you're missing the psychological element here. Scotland absorbed that shock defeat to Italy in Rome and came back with a performance that was genuinely clinical. Hugh Jones scoring twice, that Russell to Jones connection that bypassed England's rush defense.
Yeah, the deft fly swatter pass, I read the match reports too. But Russell thrives in chaos, Gav. When the game breaks down, when structure collapses, that's when he looks like a magician. The fact that he had his best ever performance for Scotland in a match defined by English indiscipline tells you everything.
But that's exactly my point about competitive parity. Look at the statistical breakdown. Scotland's defensive grit in the second half, holding up English mauls, charging down Ford's drop goal attempt. This wasn't lucky, it was systematic. They've gone from being tactically naive to having genuine game management.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about Italy then. Because if your competitive parity theory holds water, explain to me how Italy nearly beats Ireland in Dublin through scrum dominance alone. When was the last time you saw Tadhg Furlong put up on his feet like that?
Never, honestly. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Under Gonzalo Quesada, Italy has moved beyond being a one-trick wonder. They've got defensive resilience now, set-piece maturity. Giacomo Nicotera's driving maul try in the 34th minute, Italy leading at halftime in Dublin for the first time in history. That's not chaos, that's evolution.
But Ireland looked rattled, man, completely outclassed by France in their opener, then struggling against Italy's physicality. Sam Prendergast's performance was insipid, those shocking conversion misses.
Right, exactly.
This is what I mean by structural decay. Ireland's mature side is aging, their young thrusters can't handle the pressure, and they're suffering from what analysts are calling a lion's hangover. That's not competitive balance. That's a former powerhouse in transitional fragility.
But hang on, let's look at France then. Because if we're talking about structure, Fabien Gauthier has undertaken what you'd call a radical overhaul, omitting over 200 caps of experience, bringing in 20-year-old talents like Fabien Brau-Boiret. And what's happened? They've become the industrial standard of the championship.
That 54-12 demolition of Wales and Cardiff? Yeah, that was impressive. But Gavlar, Wales missed 31 tackles and had a 68% tackle success rate. Attendance was 57,744, the lowest in 24 years. The fans are voting with their feet because they're watching systemic failure, not competitive rugby.
Wales is the tragic exception though, isn't it? They're in their 13th consecutive Six Nations defeat. But look at the broader picture. Scotland ending England's streak, Italy pushing Ireland to the brink, France mixing slick handling with raw power. The margins have evaporated.
But that's my point about chaos, though.
Right. Let's talk about the turning point then, because I think there's one moment that defines this entire championship so far, and it's not what people think. Everyone's fixated on Arundel's red mist or Russell's magic, but for me, it's the 20-minute red card trial itself.
Oh, absolutely. This rule has fundamentally altered the risk-reward calculus for physical play. The theory was it would preserve the spectacle, keep games alive as contests.
Exactly.
But what actually happened? England's defensive structure completely collapsed in those first 20 minutes without Arundel. Scotland exploited the edges so effectively that the damage was terminal before England could return to full strength. The rule didn't preserve the spectacle. It created a massive premium on defensive scramble that some teams just can't handle.
But that's tactical adaptation in real time, Adrian. The teams that can handle that pressure, that can adapt their defensive patterns on the fly, those are the ones thriving. It's not chaos. It's evolution under pressure.
And what about these aerial bazooka strategies? George Ford talking about the science of the spiral kick, describing it as unpredictable and designed to create chaos in the air. When your strategic innovations are literally called chaos creators, maybe we need to ask some hard questions about where the game is heading.
But look at how Scotland used that strategy at Murrayfield. They got an advantage from the aerial contest and used loose balls to launch devastating counterattacks. Meanwhile, Gregor Townsend has actually moved them toward a more pragmatic kicking game. It's tactical sophistication, not chaos.
All right, let's look ahead then. Round 3 is where this all gets tested. England hosts Ireland at Twickenham, two sides in crisis mode essentially.
Yeah, massive. Borthwick needs to address those calamitous mistakes from Murrayfield, and Farrell has to decide whether to stick with the Prendergast experiment or fully commit to Jack Crowley. This match defines both rebuilds.
Right. And my worry is that both teams are so fragile right now that we're going to see another error-strewn mess. England's selection choices, this Freeman at center experiment, Stewart at fullback, they're denying themselves creative options when they need fluidity most.
True, but Ireland showed against Italy that when Crowley came on, they found that extra guile. If Farrell can sort out the fly-half situation, they've got the experience to exploit England's current uncertainty. Plus, at Twickenham, Ireland have had success before.
Meanwhile, Scotland travels to Cardiff, where they've historically struggled. But they're going as a team top-heavy with talent and fully motivated after that Calcutta Cup success. The injuries to Jack Dempsey and Jamie Ritchie will test their depth, though.
And Wales. 13 consecutive Six Nations defeats. Steve Tandy's under massive pressure, defensive structure in ruins, fans disappearing. That could be a perfect storm for Scotland to build momentum.
And France hosts Italy, which could be a trap game if Italy can replicate that Dublin scrum performance. Although, let's be honest, France, with their current form and depth,
they're the only team still capable of a grand slam at this point. The combination of that raw power and outrageous flair, plus the emotional core from Uini Atonio's retirement, they're a frightening proposition.
Right, time for final whistle predictions then. Gav, give me your quick fire takes for round 3.
Ireland edges England at Twickenham by 6 points. Crowley starts and makes the difference. Scotland beats Wales by 15 plus. The Principality Stadium won't save Welsh morale now. France dispatches Italy professionally, probably 30-point margin. Your turn.
England actually wins ugly against Ireland. Home advantage plus Irish transition fragility equals a grinding 18-15 result. Scotland hammers Wales by 20 plus, completely different class right now. And France, yeah, they'll demolish Italy. This championship's becoming a one-horse race.
So we fundamentally disagree on whether this is competitive parity or structural decay, but we both see France running away with it. Interesting paradox there, Adrian.
That's exactly the point. In a truly competitive championship, you wouldn't have one team this dominant. France's industrial efficiency is highlighting everyone else's chaos.
Well, whether you're team fabulously unpredictable or team chaotic maelstrom, one thing's certain. This Six Nations is delivering drama in spades. Thanks for joining us on Rugby Rundown. I'm Gavlar.
And I'm Adrian. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and let us know on social media whether you think this championship represents evolution or entropy. We'll be back next week to see who was right about round 3. Until then, keep watching the chaos unfold.